Hello, everybody. Katie here, coming to you today to talk about putting words to this. Putting words to this is always a challenge, but speaking to what I've been saying as this new way of being on planet Earth. Maybe you're new to me, maybe you've been around for a while, but this idea that I work with a lot that has to do with, coming from the world of science and tech and, having been taught this story that science and tech is what is going to give us the answers to our problems, to solve these problems so that we can get on with life. And knowing that here in this space, we are definitely not anti-science, anti-tech. That's not at all the space that we're going into. What we get to speak to in this space, and this is the topic today, is how we get to weaving together all these sources of wisdom, sources of technology, sources of action that can be taken that matter, that actually matter, and bringing it into this context that is this new way of being on planet Earth as we move out of this time where this is the space we've lived in. We've lived in the space of, outsourcing. Oh, I have a pain. I have a problem. How can I outsource what I need to technology? How can I outsource this to the wisdom coming through science to solve my problems, to give me the answers? Which, when that works out, that's beautiful. That's amazing. We have science, we have technology here to make our lives easier, to alleviate pain, to solve problems in the right moment when it serves. But what happens, what has happened in our worlds, and this is the story, the belief system, this way of being that I believe is the ask of our time, is to move out of this reliance, dependence on this polarization where it's all about the science or it's all about the tech. Or on the other side, it's religion or whatever else, right? We have this way of being in this world where we separate ourselves. We allow our minds to tell us false stories about how life is this or that, how it's science or it's anti-science. It's technology that will solve our problems, or it's holistic health, herbalism or whatever is on the other end of that that false spectrum, right? And what we get to do in this time is to let that way of thinking, way of being dissolve so that we can step into a way of being on this planet where instead of this or that, we get to ground in, be present to this here moment, and ask the only question that matters. That's what serves now. Maybe you're facing a challenge. Maybe you have a pain or some other ailment. Maybe there's a problem that needs to be solved. Or maybe you're looking to call in more joy, more fulfillment. Wherever you stand at this moment in time, the only question that matters, what serves? What serves this next step forward? So that's what we get to dig into a little bit today. That's what we get to dig into a little bit. If you've been with me for a while here on YouTube or in any of my works, I've taken some space with the YouTube channel. I do this thing. This is the way I work. This is the way I teach. We have this way of being in life where we just think things are linear and we keep going focused here. Like, I created a YouTube channel. I need to keep working here. I need to keep working here. I need to keep working here. While we stay so focused right here, listening to the stories and advice that we have to live in this very linear, head down, working hard, masculine way, when we do that, yes, we're able to achieve and get things done and all those great things. But when we get too focused here, what ends up happening is that we miss out on the new. We miss out on all the pieces of information that are asking to come in. And we hold too tightly, we cling too tightly to that which we've told ourselves, have been convinced of is important. So if you've been with me for a while, my work, my YouTube channel has gone through a few iterations as I continue to be in the practice of getting focused, getting a lot of these videos out there, really speaking to a certain thing, and then taking a step back and allowing my own beliefs, my own thoughts, the energetics of my body shift and change so that I can come forward and bring you the next series of YouTube videos, or maybe it's the next podcast, next blog post, right? I got different creative outlets here, and being in this practice, what's so loud for me right now is this theme that is, putting it gently, without so much of what could be received as certain language that might invoke something negatively in you. This new way of being on planet Earth, right? Some more, shall I say, dangerous language could be this new Earth energy. And I say new Earth, and in me and my body, there's part of me that gets this kind of like cringy reaction. And there's this loud voice in my head saying, Katie, don't use that phrase because it's loaded. It's loaded with a whole lot of bullshit. And if you know me, you know my work. If I can do nothing else, no matter where I show up, it's to take a stand for cutting through the bullshit, because this world has too much of it and it's holding us back and it's creating problems. And pick any polarizing spectrum and you get too far on one side and there's bullshit there. What we get to do here in this space is ground into center. And when it comes to New Earth, this new way of being on planet Earth, there's so much here that we get to pull from science, technology, from Eastern tradition, from Western tradition, spirituality, all these different beautiful spaces that are alive through us human beings on planet Earth, we are so gifted right now if we are willing to receive the gift of having access to so much wisdom, to so much opportunity to solve the very real problems we're facing, to work through the very real challenges we are facing. The problem, right, what is preventing us from moving forward, as I see it, isn't a lack of information, isn't a lack of technology, but it is our stubbornness and this outdated belief system that it's either or, going back to its science and technology or its spirituality. It's me up in my head thinking and being oh so smart up in my head, or it's me being connected to my heart. And if I've learned anything on my own path out of the world of biomedical research, right? Biomedical research, me in the lab day after day, bringing through science and technology to bring us the answers that I thought were so important, to bring us the technology that I thought was so important. And not saying that's not important. What I'm saying is what has shown up for me, this signal that's gotten louder and louder and louder. And now these days I get to be fully immersed in is this question of what actually matters. A question that you can only really answer when you do the very thing that I teach, which is to deepen in to your own experience in this present moment, an experience that can only unfold, be felt, be witnessed, be experienced as we learn to be present with all of who we are as human beings. So if that sounds funky or a little out there for you, let's really ground this in. So there's this way of being that we've been taught in this world, right? Where we walk through life living up in our heads. This is what school teaches. This is what the workforce teaches. This is what was really, really programmed into me as a scientist and engineer, is the capacity, the abilities of the human mind are immense. Humans can be so smart, and as a scientist and engineer, and just as me out in life, it's my job to be as smart as I can up in my head to solve problems, to be able to do the calculus and differential equations and know all the science and hold it all in my head, the space where we can be smart and solve problems. And then you take a step back and you look at the world that we live in when humans walk around stuck in our heads and disconnected from a felt connection with that which exists outside of our heads. There's a lot of reasons our world is the way it is right now, but that there is the thing that I've kind of zoned in on as the problem to be remedied. This need to get out of our heads, connect into our bodies, connect into our hearts, connect into all aspects of self, because as human beings, there are so many different parts of self. And yes, our minds, our brains can be so powerful. So again, it's not about swinging some made up pendulum out of the head and into the body while we disconnect the head and throw it away. Like, that would be silly. What we get to do here in this new way of being on planet Earth, what we may speak to, if you don't like it, just throw it away. It's fine. You don't need to use this phrase, but this new Earth, this new way of being on planet Earth, where we get to be embodied, we get to be in felt connection, experiencing all that we are as human beings. You know, I just got off this call. I'm facilitating a New Earth Circle right now, and it's beautiful, and there's so much healing and calling in of the new in there, and grounding in this new way of being that's happening there. And it's blowing me away, and it's amazing. And one theme that's really loud, is really loud there in today's conversation, it's loud in a lot of the conversations I'm having today, is this new Earth, this new way of being on planet Earth. What really, really characterizes it is it's not about saving the planet. It's not about saving the planet, fixing our problems out in nature in a way that we do it just the same way we've done everything in the past. That is, oh, there's a problem over there. We need to put our minds to it, think of the best way to solve it, and then do everything we can to put that into action. That's one way of doing things. In some ways, sometimes it serves, but it's not what we're going to do here as we move forward. Instead, what we get to learn, what we get to experience, is a new way of doing things where, yes, we get to heal our planet. You've heard me talk about, my backyard forest here in northern New Mexico and my love for the planet as a whole. You know that there's nothing more that I want than to heal our planet, than to regrow the forests in my backyard that have been burned down and burned down again and burned down again and are continuing to burn. It's fire season now here in northern New Mexico, so fire is really loud for me right now. That's why I'm here. But there's this way of doing it. There's this way of doing it where, again, we've done it in the past by, how can I be so smart? Because me here up in my brain, I'm so smart and I can figure it out how to solve this problem and regrow the forest. Except that things have gotten so big, so challenging, so complex. So to bring in some technical systems, biology ways of thinking of things, what we have when it comes to climate change, but in climate change is even too small of a word, what we have when it comes to what I like to speak of as this great mess of things on planet Earth, we have reached a level of complexity where things are too big for our brains to be able to figure it all out. To which it's like, yeah, but now we have AI. We have supercomputers to do all the computations and spit out the right answer. And again, I'll say it again and again and again, that it's beautiful and amazing. And yes, let's welcome in the technology and the ways that we can be smarter, use our brains when the time is right to really, really figure out those solutions. Bringing this back to the context, though, the greater context, this way of being on planet Earth. Which is so much more, I'll say it this way, is so much less about being able to solve isolated problems and so much more about being in connection to what is alive here and now. So what is alive here and now in this present moment? And if you're thinking up answers in your head, listing things off, what I invite you to do instead is to drop down into your body, to take a few breaths down in your body, to inhale to let yourself be filled with breath. To breathe all the way down into your belly. To feel into the connection with the seat holding you here. Maybe drop your consciousness, your attention, your awareness down into the earth beneath your feet. To breathe with the room you are in. And to hold that consciousness, your attention, your awareness within your body. Continue to breathe down into your body as you hold space for what is alive around you, below you. What are you receiving from the world around you as you are grounded and present in felt connection to your body? This right here, this is this new way of being on planet Earth that I am talking about. This way of being where we are in connection to our bodies, to our breath, in felt connection to the sensory experience that is receiving input from what's around us. We live in a world where the way we receive input is through our eyes and ears. We're attached to screens and books, which again is beautiful, wonderful, powerful source of information. To be able to receive the wealth of information that we can from the screen, what a gift. But when that becomes our entire world, we become out of balance and we lose connection with all of who we are as these beautiful, rich, complex human beings, human bodies that we are. So this new earth, this new way of being on planet Earth, it's not about using the same old ways to solve the problems that are alive in our world. It's about welcoming in a new way of being on planet Earth as these human beings that we are, in felt connection to self, so that we can receive the input that is coming towards us in a way that is skillful and learning discernment so that we know or continue to build to the best degree, the greatest skill that we can. What do we do with it? What do we do when we find ourselves in this great mess of things on planet Earth, where the health of humanity, the health of our physical human bodies, is not doing so well? And that was the first space that I thought I was going to devote my life to, but as things happen, things shift and change. But where I started as a bioengineer turned nutrition researcher and health coach and whatever labels we want to put on over there, I thought it was all about the physical health of the human body. And it's not that I've pushed that away, but brought that into a greater context. So we have the physical health of our bodies, and we have the mental health, the well-being of our bodies. Do you feel good? Do you feel good in your body? Or are there pains there? Is there low or intense shifts in energy? Do you experience joy and fulfillment? Do you feel good in your body? I think most modern humans would not answer that question with a strong yes. So that's one space we get to work. We can expand out into the health of our communities, the health of our ecosystems, our connection to other humans, our connection to other life forms. Are these spaces doing well? Again, bringing to my mind different connections to different ecosystems, to different communities, and the way we treat other living beings and the harm that is caused there. Again, I don't know many people who would answer a very loud and clear yes, that is super healthy, everything feels good there. So this is the context that we find ourselves in. Context being a very mental word. It's the experience that we are living now. And I, for one, believe it needs to change. And the question that matters now is how. And we can do it by researching more and developing more technology. And that's beautiful. And I welcome it in to the degree that it serves and in the moments that it serves, while I simultaneously teach and do my best to live it myself. what words to put to this. My own, your own felt experience, your own lived experience. And with that, this invitation to welcome in information in all of its forms. So maybe it comes from a scientific study, maybe it comes from an expert researcher, someone with fancy letters after his or her name. Maybe it comes from a licensed professional. All these beautiful, powerful ways to receive important input. And what are all the other ways that we can receive information? A friend, a sister, a brother, a pet, a tree, a blog post, a book, a YouTube video, a podcast. We live in this time where there is a wealth of information that we can receive. And I'll say this again, that the hurdle that we are currently jumping over is getting away from putting some of those sources of information on a pedestal while demonizing others. Instead, stepping into a skillful understanding and ability to discern what sources of information are most appropriate, are most useful for me in this moment. Then in the next moment and the next moment, as we walk through life in our own lived, embodied experience, doing the best that we can to be present to our own selves, our own bodies, our own physical bodies, mental bodies, emotional bodies, nervous systems. I can keep listing different parts of self. As we are in connection to the world we are part of. What part of this world is asking for that connection in this moment? Where are you being called to pour your consciousness, your awareness, your attention? Where are you called to channel to the best of your ability your intelligence, your heart, your love, your hard work? Knowing that this may shift, knowing that you may be pulled deep into a rabbit hole to really get to work and move mountains and solve problems. Whew. I'm happy to be back. I mentioned this, but I haven't recorded a YouTube video in a while. And this is feeling good. This is feeling good in my body to speak to this and to continue to speak to this. This new way of being on planet Earth. Calling in, grounding in new Earth. Because let me tell you, I have no interest in any esoteric out there airy-fairy new Earth where we get to sit around and dream up of what the Earth could look like. Like, sure, let's spend a few moments doing that. That sounds fun. But here, let's ground it in. Let's ground it in. Let's make it manifest on planet Earth now through each of our own lived experiences. I'll leave us there for today. As always, the plug to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you have not, especially if you're here all the way through the end. Thank you so much for being with me today, listening. I would love to hear from you in the comments. Is there anything that spoke to you today? It really helps to receive that feedback so it's not me over here in my own internal world where, yeah, I can kind of tune in and feel into and discern what could serve to be shared. It helps so much to hear from you over there, to receive your input. Helps me to decide, discern, where I can best spend my time speaking. So with that, I thank you once more for tuning in with me today, and I look forward to catching you in whatever the next spaces that we find ourselves in.